Okay. First of all, I owe a lot of thanks to our dear friend and great mentor, Professor Richard Dasher. He has been our friend for over 10 years, and also he's one of the reasons that we started off about 10 years ago to become a student entrepreneur. So I'm going to run 2 slides today. One is a brief introduction of the business that me and my husband have. It's called Getui. It's the #1 leading push platform in China. And after that, I'm going to introduce a little bit more about what I am doing, the angel investment and incubation part. Feel free to interact me anytime to throw your question. I love when audience are very dynamic and have questions. Okay, so here we go. So this is a very brief history with pictures about what we have been doing in the past decade. So we started off in 2005, right after the ACES Summit in Singapore. So we have 2 major events for ACES, and every year we have one in April in Stanford, and the other one somewhere in the summer in some other Asian country or region. So we started our first startup after the Singapore Summit back in September 2005. And on the left up, this is the first location that we can call office. We spent the first 2 years in a residential building, as most of the young entrepreneurs do. And we almost spent that period of time developing our product, which I'm going to introduce a little bit later. And on the downside, that is my dear husband and also my very close partner in the whole startup business. So this is him speaking in one of the local events as a participant. That's probably in 2007, 2008, because he still looks younger then. And on the right, here's a picture by New York Times. Last year in September the 19th, there was a major news for China internet, probably for the internet all over the world. Alibaba went listed again in NYSE. So that would probably be the first time that the US citizens and anywhere else noticed that a Chinese internet company could be this big and it could have all this potential. So New York Times went to the city of Hangzhou, where we are building our business, to do a little bit of field study to get a vibration of what this city is like. So they interviewed us and interviewed me and my husband, and they feel that we have a very interesting story. So instead of having Jack Ma on the front page, me and my husband was on the front page at that day when Alibaba went public. So the title of the story is called Millionaire and Risk Takers. So you can still search for that article online. So here is a picture of a family portrait that we have in the company that we're currently running. This is the office that we have in Hangzhou. Okay. So where do we start? This is the first product that we have. So in a very fashionable way to say that we started from intelligent hardware, which is a hard way to do it. So this is a mobile phone charger. It can automatically back up your contact list to the charger when you charge your phone using it. And when you switch to other phones, it can automatically rewrite your phone book to the new phone. So basically, it's a very useful tool for keeping and organizing your contacts, which is probably the most valuable assets that you have on your phone. So we started this business in 2005, and we worked on the whole development process for almost about 2 years, which actually exists what we had imagined in the first place. Because remember, we were young and foolish then. We thought that we could finish the whole development process within 2 weeks, and we just sell the patent to some of the bigger players over there, and we get rich. At least that's how we thought it would be. But like most of the startup stories, it didn't work out that way. So we hit a lot of barriers. We had a lot of difficulty in the whole developing process. And also, when we had the products, we didn't know how to market it. We didn't know how to sell it because we were still a bunch of students back then. So I think the lesson that we learned from this product is that it always takes much, much longer time than you expected to turn an idea to a business. First, you need to turn the idea into the product. And second, you need to get the product to the market, and you need to develop your market strategy. You need to have your salespeople. You need to get the thing out there, and then you need to make money. But I think going through all this process was worthwhile because after this, we developed our second product, which is an online backup service that we provided to China Mobile. So at that time, we acted as an outsourcing company. It didn't sound that cool, but it helped us to make some money. And by the way, the first product we made, the end story is that we sold it to Baidu at 2010. So it was an okay ending. It was not what we have dreamed of, but we did make our first bucket of gold out of that. So this is a second product. As you can see, it's a software. And we started this business at 2008. That's almost the dawn of what we call the mobile internet area. So iPhone was already there, but there were not so many smartphones around. People were switching from the featured phones to the smartphones. So there was the real need to get all the contact information managed on cloud, on the website. So this is what we were providing to China Mobile. And they paid us a little bit of money to do this. So it was an okay business. It helped us make some profit, but we didn't think that it's what we wanted to do. We didn't want to stop there. So this is the third product, and which might be so far the biggest innovation that we had. Well, except from Getui. So this is the third product. At the end of year 2009, remember at that time, iPhone 4 was already in the market. Everybody was switching to the smartphones. So at that time, we were thinking, while we were observing the China market, we saw that there would be a great opportunity for a great instant messenger company to have their software over there on every phone. People would be switching from SMS to the instant messenger. Everybody would be using this instead of sending text. So we started there. We started even earlier than Kik and than WeChat, than Line, than all the other apps. We started at the end of 2009, and I want to develop this very great instant messenger we call it 个性. Well, in Chinese it means like individual messaging. 个性 is the name of the products. So we did this. But unfortunately, we didn't make it to the end. Of course, everyone is using WeChat now. I'm sure most of you would have a WeChat account. So we did that, and for a while, I remember for about 9 or 10 months, we did have more users than WeChat. But we lost the battle around the end of 2011. Actually, we successfully raised a round of funding at the beginning of 2011, and we did the largest recruitment and promotion we have ever done, because we have all this VC money, right? And we can employ other people, we can throw out the advertisement in the market, but it was still nothing compared to what Tencent can do at that time. They deploy about like hundreds, maybe even thousands of engineers to put on that cool product they have called WeChat. And so we have about 20 million users at top, like at peak for this product. But approaching the end of 2011, we feel that this product is already gone. There's no way that we can compete with Tencent in the consumer market. So we switch to the last one. So this is a very brief history about the company, which is on my name card. It's called 个性. So 个性 Interactive was founded at summer of 2010. And now we have 2 major offices in Hangzhou and Beijing. And right now we have over 140 employees in our team, which from different internet companies such as Baidu, Google, IBM, Cisco, Tencent, and all that. we have closed 2 rounds of funding by spring last year. And right now, these are few of our major clients. Maybe some of you are quite familiar with all this Chinese company. We have Sina Weibo, which is a China equivalent of Twitter. We have Moji Weather, which is a weather app. We have PPTV, which is a peer-to-peer streaming video application. And we have Qunar, which is a little bit like Booking, or Kazaa.com. And we have all these different apps. So these are all our customers. So there is a bit of data about what we do. We are actually not an app company. There is not an app called Getui. We are a B2D company, business to developer. We provide the software develop kit to application developers, providing them with this push notification function or ability. So what they do is that we give them the SDK and they pack it within their app, and then they will also have a user account on our platform, and then their app can have the ability to push the message to their users at any time, any content or information as you wish. So here are a few numbers that we have. Right now, we have in China, we have over 900 individual mobile phones and handsets. That's about over 90% of the total smartphone market, and that's about 100% of the Android phone market. And we have accumulated users of 4 billion from all the different apps that we are now serving. So if you do the math, on every Android phone that has our SDK, on average, they would have 5 or 6 of them because people are using multiple apps. What we do is that we help them deploy and sending messages. On an average day, we will be send 1.5 billion messages to all the mobile phones around China. And on a good day, I know you're very familiar with Black Friday in the US. And some of you may have heard there is a similar Black Friday in China, which is called November the 11th, the Singles Day. So on that day, all the big B2C e-commerce websites will do the promotion and people will get crazy shopping. So on the China Black Friday last year, we sent 3 billion messages within 24 hours to all the mobile phone users inside of China. Any questions about that? Okay, people are quite shocking with the numbers. Don't worry, we'll get to technology details if anyone of you is interested. So at the end of last month, we have a conference called GMIC. It's a global mobile internet conference, which is the highest level of industry get-together inside of China for mobile internet. We host our own panel, we host our own meeting, and we announced this very new and very cool product, which is called Getui 3.0. And you may ask, okay, this is 3.0, so what is 1.0 and 2.0? So we started off as a very simple technology provider. At 1.0, we just do our push technology, and at 2.0, we provide the extra service, which we call the value-added service. So we provide some basic analytic tools, which are online. So as an app developer, you can watch, how well you are doing, and we will give you automatically some suggestion on how to deploy and how to use the push, because it's a really double sword technology. If you do not use it right, people will get rid of you, because if you push too many messages per day, people will get annoyed. So back to the Getui 3.0, we provide a location-based kind of push service to all the different apps. So apps can use this to promote themselves, to get better user activity, or they can use this as a tool for mobile advertisement. Because as I understand, 40% of the mobile internet advertisement income of Facebook come from all kinds of different advertisement of apps. Today, apps throw a lot of money, they throw a lot of bucks to promote themselves. So we want to get some benefit out of that. So how do they do? For example, if we set today's venue as a geometric fencing, as a geometric fenced area, everybody who is carrying an Android phone walking to this area will get some notification say, hey, there is a very cool event which will be going here in about 10 minutes. And perhaps it can even be differentiated because we have big data on our platform. So we wouldn't be sending everybody the same information. We would send a customer information that we know would interest you most. So if we were in a shopping mall and you guys come here, perhaps some of you would want to go shop, some of you would want to see a movie, and some of you would just want to have afternoon tea with friends. If you are already a user and we have established your user profile, we will able to somehow assume that there is a bigger chance that you will do this kind of activity and we will send a relevant push to you rather than sending everybody the same message. Okay, here's the part where when I brag about my company. But actually, we are here to check out some of the cool companies and accelerators and incubators we have been plug and play and Google and Facebook today. So I understand this is nothing compared to what Silicon Valley has, but we're still very proud of it. Because we are actually a very, very local company. When I say local, that means me and my husband, we have never systematically studied abroad. So that's what they call 土鳖. So we are still trying to learn from what's best out there. So this is where we work. We have a very cool balcony, and as you see, we decorate our company in a very high-tech, very Silicon Valley way. I'm hoping it could be very Silicon Valley. And we have the football on the table. We have all kind of cool gamings for the boys. So what we do is that we try to provide our engineers, we try to provide with our employees the best environment that they can have when they work. Okay, and because this used to be a recruitment talk, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the welfare. Well, people are complaining nowadays it is very hard to recruit talents for startups in China because A, you have to compete with Baidu, Tencent, and Alibaba on the salary level, which is actually quite high. But well, it's relatively low compared to everybody else is earning in the Silicon Valley, but it's still quite high compared to the other jobs inside of China. And also, right now, when we are hiring people in their 20s, what we call in China 90后, the people who were born in the 90s. They are different from any generation within China recent history. I think that they're more like their peers in the US. They have their own ideas, and they do not like to be confined to any kind of preps and bureaucratic rules, and they wanted to be treated very good, even if you are a startup. So what we provide is that we organize monthly birthday parties for our employees, and we have yoga classes every Tuesday and every Thursday. I personally like them very much. And we have the company tour every year, at least twice. And we have fruits and we have all kinds of perks for our employees in the company. And one thing I'm very proud of is that we have weekly study. I would not call it a study meeting. My husband called it, I don't think that's a word. Let's just call it boss time. So basically, every Monday, we have a CEO or higher management to come to the stand, and they just talk to everybody, especially the new employees, about a little bit about our history, a little bit about what they're doing, and a little bit about what we should be doing for the company. So I think the idea originated from the TGIF over here in company like Google and others. So in that way, the new employee can have a quick glimpse of the 10-year history of this company, or what is the so-called corporation culture. And also we organize bi-week reading parties and seminars about our industry, or sometimes not so closely related to mobile internet. It could be anything cool, anything related to technology. So I think in that way, we will have this very good environment for people to be motivated, to be inspired, to learn something new. Okay, that's about it. So this is a very brief introduction, maybe not so brief, about, about the company of Getui, which belongs to me and my husband. Any questions? Here you go.
How do you do personalization? Like when you have so many users and you want to push something that's most relevant to that person,
Yeah.
how do you do personalization?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So because we are naturally a big data platform, right? So we know, let's just say we know a lot about our users. Because it's USA, it's very sensitive. I don't want to get myself in trouble. But we know a lot about our users. We do a thing called user profiling, right? It's basically, I think it's basically the same method, the same strategy that Facebook and Twitter and some other social networking stuff they have. Basically, they can tell, you know, where you're from and what do you do, and even your average income level or where you are, and we know the similar stuff. So we have your user profile. We do not necessarily need to know who you are, but we want to know your consumer behavior because that's what's most relevant, that's most useful for us. So once we have that, and then remember that we have the channel to reach you at any time you get connected to the internet. So we are able to put we are able to put different customized information directly to you once you get online. You do not have to open your app because it's a push thing. Once you get online, we'll be able to reach you and we can give the message to you. Okay? Over there?
So a question about your revenue model.
Yeah.
So if I understand correctly, so you kind of sell your some sort of API or like software to apps, and they use your kind of thing to do. And how do you make?
How do I make money? Yeah. Again, very good question. So currently, actually, we have two major business models. One is what we call the freemium. So for apps with 5 million or less users, we let them just use our service for free because they are small apps. They may not be willing or they may not be able to pay money. So we just let them use that for free. And for apps with 5 million and up users, we charge them per month according to the level of their concurrent users. So it's like the bigger you are, the more you pay. Because it's just like water or electricity bill, right? I think that is fair. And on top of that, remember from Getui 2.0, we provide some basic analytic tools. So that is called value-added service. So for that part, we also charge our users some money. And apart from this one, there's this mobile advertisement I'm talking about. So for that, it's just similar like Google or Facebook or any other company who does advertisement over there. We take a certain percentage of the whole revenue from the advertisement. We split the revenue with the app owners. Okay? Over there.
So you say one day you send 3 billion messages.
Yeah.
How many apps for those 3 million?
Well, actually, there were a number on that. I think we have about 500K. We have about 500K applications. But the rule is actually, I think the rule is not 2 to 8. The rule is actually 1 to 9 in the world of application. So if you count the number of apps, less than 10% of the apps actually have over 90% of the volume of the user. Because the big app can be very big, right? And most of the smaller ones, they have, relatively small number of users, say about 1 or 2 million at tops. So actually, it's not the number of apps that count. It's can you have all the bigger ones?
So which is the big one?
The bigger ones are Sina Weibo, are Moji Weather, and PPTV, and Momo, which recently got listed. Yeah, the bigger ones, like I'm thinking the bigger ones should be 500 million users and up. That's how we define the bigger ones.
The numbers are amazing. Can I ask you a couple of questions?
Yes, go ahead.
So after your service kind of got pushed off the board by WeChat,
Yeah.
okay, that was not a good ending to that particular project.
Yeah.
Did that make it more difficult to get funding for the next thing?
Well, actually, the story is very interesting. Since you mentioned, we went out to raise our first round at the end of 2010. So, if you remember, the company actually established at July of 2010, right? So we started because we have a little bit of pocket money by selling our first product to Baidu. So we just went ahead and set the company, and then we started our A round of funding. We started to raise the funding at the end of 2010, and we got our term sheet and the document signed at the beginning of 2011. And because in China, it is still difficult to get US dollar money, transferred and changed to RMB, and have to build all the structures and VIEs and blah 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 blah. So the very interesting thing is that we have already sent the documents, and we know we have money. We have about several millions of US dollars.
Yeah.
We know we have the money,
So
but
the investors were over here.
We cannot get our hands on it.
Right.
And actually, before the first A round of money even get to our bank account in the form of RMB, we already know the business is not working.
Yeah.
And we decided to change. Well, luckily, we win over the support from the board. Because they can decide that, we just call it off. We don't care. We would not want to buy your story. But luckily, we got them on board, and we switched to the new stuff. And also, it's lucky for us because we decided to pivot early. We had a meeting with one of the other major players. I don't know if you guys still remember them. It's called TalkBox. TalkBox was pretty huge at that time when all the Kik and iMessenger came out, and it was a Hong Kong company. So we met with them in San Francisco about 2 days ago. So they stick to their ideas so they did the instant messenger till 2013. So that's 2 years later. Then we decided to pivot. So I think one thing is that luckily enough, we made the quick decision and we got the board to support us.
So you pivoted and were able to use the Series A money.
Yeah, we
for
pivoted
the new
and
project.
used the Series A round of money
Okay.
to do that. And once we did a little bit, actually, there were the Series A round of funding was in 2011, and we raised our B round of funding at the beginning of 2014. So that's already 3 years later.
Yeah.
And we have already done a lot by then. I remember at that time when we were raising money for Series B, we have already got 500 million accumulated users from all the apps, and we were having like 300 million unique phone sets. So we were about like half or a little bit less than half the market size we are having now. So we have already proved ourselves to some extent. So it was relatively easy for us to raise money.
Okay.
The market was not that high at the moment, but we did it. Yeah.
I've got one other follow-up question on that.
Yeah.
Was there anything you learned, especially by experiencing that need to pivot?
Well, it's always a painful process, but there are a lot of things to be learned. Well, frankly speaking, we have pivoted at least 3 times if you're counting all the major business events. And there were even side projects that I don't have time to mention today. We were doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So the thing is that, first of all, you have to always keep an eye on your competitor. And then you need to decide, especially the CEO, need to decide when is the time to call it off. Because everybody can be giving you all different opinions and feedbacks about, whether this is going anywhere or it's going nowhere. But the CEO, he or she has to make up their minds. And once they do, you never look back. Some of my friends still, say to me that if you guys stick to good, it probably be a different story. I say, yeah, it'd probably be different, but you cannot repeat history.
Yeah.
So first of all, you keep an eye on your competitor, you keep an eye on the market, and then you make the decision. And second, do everything to win over the support of your investors. Because one of the reasons a lot of companies didn't succeed in pivoting is that they lost the trust of the investor. Because you told them a good story, right? And they give you money. And suddenly you tell them, hey, I don't want to do this, or I cannot do this anymore. I have to switch to the other thing. The first question they're going to ask is why, right? So you better have a good story. And the third is that it's especially important, it's crucial to have the support of your core team. Because we were a small company for a very long time period. We started from 5 people, and 3 of them were ACES members at that time. And for a quite long time, probably till the end of 2009, for a quite long time, we were never more than 30 people. We were a very small team. And then suddenly we got the first round of funding, we got A round of funding. We grew so quickly, we almost hit 200 at one point. So it was like every day we were hiring and we were recruiting.
So I am curious how you were able to grow so fast and take 90% of the smartphones, to manage to get your platform into that. How to do that so fast?
So recruiting was not easy. And especially when we were pivoting, we actually had to cut the costs and fire most of them. So it was like 20 to 30 for several years, and then boom, suddenly 200, and then back to 60. So at the whole process, you need to know which are the people that you are not going to lose whatsoever. You want to keep them. But at the same time, you need to, according to the book written by Reid Hoffman, Alliance, let the employees that you laid off leave the company with integrity.
Yeah.
Right. You have laid them off, right? You don't need to hurt them again. So when we were firing people at that time, actually it was a good time for the whole mobile internet. So companies are lining up at our door to get our employees. So I would say most of the employees, if not all of them, have already had some job offer before, we give them the goodbye. So at least that's the one thing that I think we did right. So answering in your question, how were we able to grow in so fast? Actually, after that cutback, it took us about another 2 years to grow to this size. So by the end of last year, by the end of 2014, we were still a company with less than 100 people.
But if anything, I would have expected that at that point, somebody like Alibaba or maybe Baidu would have had the big data analysts inside their company and would have really been able to get into this.
Yeah,
quick.
they have. Actually, all the 3 big companies, the Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent, they have either got their in-house team or they acquire some other company to do this. But on technology level and on market level, they were not half as good as what we are doing, because it is a very clear business, especially for the bigger ones. People want to cut costs, and people want to have a stable, and they want to have a good service. And for those big companies, this is still a too early and not so important sector for them. They want to have a company, they want to have a team in this, but they're not going to pay too much attention on this. We have...
unless they see you starting to get real business.
Yeah, well, we have already started to get real business once we get into this market in 2012. So our first major client was Sina Weibo. So Sina helped us a lot. Mm-hmm. And so from that time, they were BATs, they were the big companies, they were also other startup competitors. But gradually they just fade out. Either because they cannot do the technology, because it's not easy, and you have to be able to do it with millions or tens of millions, or for us, about 300 millions of users are online at any time of the day. You have to be able to do that. Otherwise, it's just a lab concept that you can do this. It's not a real product. And also, I would say all the employees in our company, they have very good service spirit, we would say that. We treat our clients with respect. A lot of big companies are very snobbish. They don't want to deal with you unless you can pay them real money, right? But we started off from small, so we understand the need and the demand of this some individual or some small startups. So we would love to be there with them from the beginning. There's an example of another very successful startup that's set by Zhejiang University alumni. It's called In. It's like a Chinese equivalent of Instagram, because we cannot use Instagram in China, as a lot of other cool products. So they started summer last year, and we signed them the first month they released their product. And they hit 1 million users within the first month. And then there's 5 million, there's 10, and right now they have about 30 million users, and they're very happy with our service. And I think in this industry, the word of mouth is very important, especially from the big and the success ones, the hot ones in the market, because they are going to go around, talk about how successful and how to be this successful, and people will be asking what kind of user tools that you are using, right? A recommendation from this kind of players could be very valuable.
Yeah. Okay. I understand there's more.
And there's a question from that gentleman.
Yes. Can you talk about your scaling challenges from the early days, your platform, hosting? And
Yeah, that's a very good question. I'm suspecting that you are an engineer. Are you?
A little bit of both.
Okay. So as I mentioned, our first client and our first major one is Sina Weibo. It's a China equivalent of Twitter. They have now about 800 million users, one of the bigger ones. So at the beginning of 2012, that was a time when Weibo was growing most fast. It was like tens of millions of users per month kind of growth. So we started with them at the beginning of 2012, and we served them only for about 6 months, because we want to do it in this way, and we did it for free. But later, we were able to collect some money from it. But we did it for 6 months with them only, and we did it for free, because we want them to have the patience to play and grow with us, because we know our servers are going to crash. And it's a huge challenge, because in this kind of developer service, unless you have experienced tens of millions level of concurrent user, you do not call yourself that you have a product or a business, right? Because that would be only laboratory level. So I think Sina did us a favor by allowing us to crash and burn so many times within the first 6 months, because we charged them nothing, right? So they cannot complain too much. So that's on the technology side. And on the business side, our sales and marketing people, they were waiting till the service was a little bit more stable, but they were constantly connecting to every other big ones in the market, saying that, hey, we are now cooperating with Sina, and we are having some very good news. Of course, we wouldn't tell them that our service crashed and burned, but we will say that, and we will say, I know you are very suspicious about our service right now. You wouldn't want to be the first one to eat the crab. But if Sina is very happy with us, would you like to be our second customer? So the salespeople was already go around and circling around to get some buyers' attentions. And after 6 months, we feel it was a time. It was a ready-to-go time. So we just go to the market and we grab the big ones, and we start to charge money at that time. And
Do you have your own data center, or did you go with a public provider?
We have our own data centers, but we still need to have the computer clusters from the China Telecom, Mobile, and there are like 3 of them. Yeah. So we have the public part, but we build our own service. We build our own server, because on that part is also a great technology advantage that we have. On average, one server can only shoulder about tens of thousands of people, or 100,000 people, like most. But we can have more than 5 million concurrent users per server. So that is our one secret source on that. So we build our own server.
Okay. I think that's good, but
And
there's
there's
more,
a
right?
question. Do you have a
Jen,
question?
I think that
Okay. We need to
it
switch to the
depends on
next
how you
one.
want to use the time. We've
Yeah.
got about 30
Okay.
minutes left.
Maybe we can have more question about this later, and we can switch to the incubation and angel investment part. So this is the newly opened incubator in the city of Hangzhou. We call it BayWest. Can anybody guess what the logo means? Any thoughts? Anything familiar? Yeah, so maybe on the right side it's more familiar. It's San Francisco Bay. It's a San Francisco Bay, and that is Hangzhou Bay. So we call ourselves BayWest because here is Bay Area. And in Hangzhou, we have very beautiful West Lake, as Professor Dasher said. So we want to be a bridge of local entrepreneurs with the international market, with a bigger world. So this is our logo. There's two claws. Okay, here are a few more bragging about myself. So this is a New York Times newspaper, just to prove what I said was true. And in the middle, there's an article about me in the Wu Xiaobo channel. Mr. Wu Xiaobo is one of the most successful financial writers inside of China. He's now currently visiting Bay Area. And on the right side, this is the opening music festival for the whole Dreamtown. And I was sitting and I was MC for that night. That's a little bit of hobby of my own. I'm a crazy karaoke fan. Okay, so here are a few pictures of our BayWest accelerator. So as you can see, it's very new. And you can see there are two levels, and on the top, there is a glass conference room. Actually, there are a few glass conference rooms. And yeah, this is a ground floor. We have all the open space as a co-working space for the startups. And this is the stairs. And this is our opening ceremony for the BayWest. As you can see, I was wearing the same dress. It was before the day that I left for the Bay Area. So I opened it. I come here on the May 9th. I opened it on May the 8th. Yeah, just one day before I came here. So the gentleman standing next to me is my husband. Isn't he cute? Okay, I'm going to just put it out here so people can read. So this is a joint effort of entrepreneurs and venture capital. So the founders and shareholders of BayWest, including entrepreneurs like me and my husband, and also local venture capital, early stage capital like Li Yuan, and later stage capital and science parks. There's a very famous science park called Fudi Science Park, which we are currently, the Getui company is currently in. So they are also the shareholder. And here are a few introduction of, well, it's actually just one sentence on my husband Fang Yi. So he is the serial entrepreneur, and he's very actively involved in the local startup community. Actually, he is also actively involved in the international startup community. As we are speaking right now, he is traveling with the head of our province in Israel. He's going to visit a few incubators and cool technology startups over there. Okay, so here are more introductions about us. So the founders, including my husband and I, and there's also a cool architect called Ran Hao. He is the winner of Forbes magazine 30 Under 30 Business Elites. So he is the architect himself, but he's very enthusiastic about helping startups in the internet space, and he also helped design our Getui office in Hangzhou, and he's also a close friend. We helped to We helped him to get his girlfriend and soon-to-be wife. And for this incubator, our advisors include dearest Professor Desher from Stanford University and former chairman Mr. Golden Davison from Fenwick and West, and also Professor Wu Xiaobo from Management School, Zhejiang University, and we are also organizing regularly international startup competition, Silicon Valley and Cambridge Exchange. So I am here. We are going to send another team to Cambridge in the coming September or October, because as we all know, Cambridge is also heart of entrepreneurship inside of Europe. So that is also a very cool place to visit. One purpose of this trip, apart from giving this speech and seminar in Stanford, is also getting to know and get in touch with more of the local incubator. So we have visited Berkeley Skydeck, we have visited Plug and Place, and we are also going to meet 500 startup and perhaps YC if they have us. And we want to establish this kind of cooperation with the local incubator. It could be a 1-week exchange trip, and it could be a 3-month exchange co-working space. It could be helping a startup from Silicon Valley to build their China branches, to help them to do a little bit of recruitment, to help them to do a little bit of market study if they want to have a China focus somewhere in the future. And here is the part we are very proud of. I understand that in Silicon Valley, the most successful kind of early stage investment are called the founders funds. Basically, they are the people who are entrepreneurs themselves, and they also act as angel investor, and they have the experience from the industry. They are not too far from the battlefield. So this is what we want to do, and this is what we are doing. We believe coach is more important than mentor, because you have to understand, in China right now, being an entrepreneur is a very hip thing. The government is all about, everybody should go out and be an entrepreneur, and you should all build your own startup. And there are a lot of startup mentors, usually people very big and successful. But from our perspective, I remember there were an article from TechCrunch saying that startups should have people who have been on the same road, but 2 to 5 years earlier than you, to be your helping hand, rather than those really big and successful and rich people. Maybe they're already too far away from the battlefield. So in my understanding, I say mentor, being a startup mentor is like, standing on a high horse and saying, everybody you should charge, but if you die out there, you die out there. It's not their fault. But being a coach, meaning that your welfare or your benefit is closely related to the students that you have, right? And also because from us, we are also angel investor. We invested our real money inside them, and we want them to be successful. And we want to help them, perhaps on a daily basis if we can. So we want to provide them everything they need, from human resource, product, sales and marketing, financing, public relations and government relations and all that. Because we have been on this road. 10 years ago, we were student entrepreneurs, and right now we are still entrepreneurs. We're not far away from the market. We understand what is going on. We see the opportunity and the challenges over there. So we would love to share our experience and network and passion unpreservedly with them. So we have now invested we have already closed 12 investments, but we have about 3 to 5 in the process. So we have 10 plus, almost 20 portfolio companies. All of them are very early stage mobile internet startups. This is one of my early startups. Cecil is working on a mobile gaming company. We invested them in 2011. They were our first portfolio. And now Cecil is helping me with some of the management after we invested them, because we consider that to be a very important part. and also learning from YC. Because being a huge alumni network, I think one thing you should always utilize is that to let young entrepreneurs to educate themselves, right? Educate and network future leaders in business and technology. That's what ACES says. So apart from what we can give, what the partners of the fund can give the young entrepreneurs, we encourage them to hold regular seminars, discussions and meetings with each other, or just go out and have a glass of beers and talk about their business, because it is really helpful. And they themselves may understand the market even more than we do, because they are right now fighting in it. So here are a few snapshots of what we do. So this is our CTO of Getui. He is giving out speech about technology and also about how to fail in China, not how to win, because he used to work for MS in China as a chief architect. And the company fell apart after he left. Well, failure can be very valuable lessons. And on the downright side, there is the session about IP protection and how to write your own patent. Well, everybody is saying that in China we don't have IP protection, but that is not true. I encourage my CEOs to write their own patent, to apply their own trademarks. Because apart from saving thousands of RMB, it's good education. Because those agents out there, they would not be able to enter the business like you do. And you should do that yourself. At least you should do the first 3 to 5 yourself. And once you get the drill, you can delegate somebody else to do it. But I always encourage them to write the patents themselves. It's great exercise. So here are a part of what we do as the BayWest Exchange, as an international exchange. We think to know the bigger world is the first step to change the bigger world. So we believe in educating our young entrepreneurs. We want them to have the experience that we have from Stanford, from MIT, from Harvard, from Cambridge, from all the top universities, from all the hub and the heart of innovation. So right now we have already established some working relationship with the incubator right here. We have a cooperation program with Euphorate, with Hainan Baichuan. These are the incubators are related to Zhejiang University alumni, so there's a natural bound. And we have visited Skydeck Berkeley, we have visited Plug and Play. Both are very interested in setting up cooperation with us. And we will, on regular basis, organize tour here to the Silicon Valley and have our CEOs to have a immersive experience of what it is like to be in the top tier of innovation environment. And also, we invite the Silicon Valley teams to come to China. These are the team from Fenwick and West. I'm sure they're very famous here. Their clients include Google, Pinterest, Airbnb, Uber, and Alibaba, and all that. So their former chairman, Mr. Gordon Davison, read about us on New York Times. And he said to his colleague, you must go to China and find these young folks. We would like to talk to them and establish a working relationship with them. So they met with us last November when they were setting up Shanghai office, their first China office. And we invited them to come to our incubator, our BayWest Accelerator in Dreamtown this past March. So the whole team was there, and they delivered a wonderful speech about US dollar investment and how to get an IPO in the US market and what to do to protect your IP when you are a startup, etc., etc. And also here are a few other events that we held in the past. So this is what we do in the Hainan Baichuan, which is the incubator operated by one of the Zhejiang University alumni in Fremont. And on the right side, this is the founder and still the chairman of Qualcomm. In the past Shanghai, California Innovation Forum. So Fang Yi was on the same panel with him. And they have, interesting conversation and so here are just some of the events that we did. And as I said, we organize bi-week book reading parties. So we did 2 books by far. We did From Zero to One, and we did The Hardest Thing About Hardison. I love this one better. I think it's like a walking manual for all the younger CEOs for the startups, because most of the time you are struggling, and you just maybe the only secret sauce to success is just you just don't give up. And on the right side here are part of our portfolio. They are in different areas. As you can see, they are in education, they're gaming, they're news, social networking, hardware, online to offline business, which is pretty hot in China right now. And there's even cartoon and third-party service, and of course, e-commerce, which is huge in the city of Hangzhou. And here are our very good relationships with the media. Well, as I remember, during our courses from MIT from 2012 to 2014, the professors from Sloan Management School saying that there are 5 elements in a startup environment. The entrepreneurs themselves. There's university, there's government, there's big corporation. For a city like Hangzhou, it could be Alibaba. And then there's venture capital, there's money. But I think in an environment like China, there's also the 6th element, which is the media. Media actually has a lot of usage and a lot of power. For example, if you start a company, media, especially the major media like China Daily or whatever, CCTV, they report your story. It could be a proof from the authority. At least your employees' parents would be happy. They would say that my daughter or my son are not fooling around with you. It could be some kind of credential. Trust me, we had a lot of help from CCTV and all those big newspapers, especially in the first 5 years that we began. They rarely turn into real orders, but they do help the team to get a stronger confidence about themselves, or they do help them to convince their family that they're not fooling around. So that part is important. And also right now, there are TechCrunch equivalent in China. There's 36Ke, there are Techno, there are other technology media. These technology media usually come with their own incubation work. Some even are thinking of setting up their own angel funds. So if you have good relationships with them, meaning that you would have opportunity to more media exposure, and they will sometimes even help you to get some major clients, or even help you to get some funding, which is crucial to startups. And I myself is also a judge in a reality TV show about entrepreneurship. Believe it or not, we have that in China as well. Just like your Shark Tank or Apprentice and all that things. We have that in CCTV too. It's called We Are Heroes. So on each TV show, there are 3 entrepreneurs, and they will come here and they will do their presentation and talk about their product and their life, and they will take all the challenges that come from judges like me. And by the end of the show, the judges will decide whether they want to invest or not. Yeah, it's good entertainment. Okay, I think that's about it. Okay.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So how do you see yourself dividing your time as you go forward? Are you going to work more on Getsi? Or are you going to work more on the incubator? What's going to happen with you?
Well, actually, right now, I am more on the incubator and the angel investment. I would say that was my full-time job since 2011. But at the same time, I am a spouse of an entrepreneur. So I volunteer to help him when I can. For example, I did the campus recruitment for Gexin last November. So I led a team of 4 people, and we went to 3 cities and 7 universities, and we collected over 1,000 resumes, and we recruit 40 people out of them. So that's what I do. And Mr. Fang Yi didn't pay me money for doing that, but still I do that. And I think, well, for me, I consider for both of us, it's a very natural and healthy synergy because he is the founder CEO of his company and I work on my angel fund and my incubator. There is this natural bond and we help each other's business in a very healthy way.
For the incubator, can you tell us anything about the kind of conditions you're giving the companies? Will you always take an equity stake in the companies?
No, not always. I think, well, on the regular basis, we just choose our tenants when they apply. So usually we are looking for a team less than 10 people. We're looking for a really small team, really early stage team. And if we like them and they like us, you can just move in because the government provides the real estate for us for free within the 3 years. So we provide this to them for free. We don't want to make any money out of renting. And usually we will give them the incubation time of 12 months, but it could be shorter or longer than that. And in the meantime, we will observe them. We will expect to invest some of them if they're really good and they want to take our money. And I think that is where the incubator or the incubation can make money because you cannot charge too high rent from the startups, and they're not doing that. And I think the only way to earn some money is to invest in really good startups and to make benefit out of the share. And yeah, maybe one more question?
Yeah, one more from me. Is this space getting really crowded in China? I mean, are there lots of incubators?
Yes.
Because there's a lot of,
and especially we dropped by the WeWork space next to Berkeley yesterday, and I think the thing is that the government are facing a lot of challenges in terms of young people, especially college graduates, cannot get good jobs or cannot get hired at all. There are 6 million of them graduating every year. And also, the real estate market in China is not doing so well right now. So people need a new method to invest. So I think the government is putting a lot of emphasis on, encouraging everybody to go out there to either become an entrepreneur or to become a host of this kind of co-working space and incubator and accelerator and blah and blah. But I still think that being an entrepreneur or working in the entrepreneur world are only suitable for the fewer people. It's not everybody can just go out there and build a startup. Even the people who have the guts to do that, most of them will fail. So yeah, the answer is that it's going to be crowded, but it's not our business. We just do what we do, and we want to fully utilize what the government are providing at this time. Even if someday the government is not promoting this as it is doing right now, I still consider it is a worthwhile thing to do. Because when we first started about 10 years ago, nobody was encouraging us to become a student entrepreneur at that time. My mom think I was doing something up to no good. And especially I married my working partner about several years later, but not last month, at the beginning of this month, I took my daughter and I went to my hometown for a small May Day holiday. And my mom and my dad said the first time to me, like over the decade, the first time to me that we think what you did 10 years ago, by becoming an entrepreneur was a pretty cool move. And yeah, and they're saying that, because the civil servants, what we call the civil servant, people working for the government, the civil servants, all the people who work for the state-owned company, they are not doing so well right now. Yeah, and they were very honest, and they said, we saw you up to no good when you first started. But gradually, we think that you make the right choice, and you really like what you do, and we are happy for you. And it's just like that. Well,
let's take a couple of questions.
Government, parents' approval after 10 years.
Very good thought, yes. But I was a little bit late. I just read a few times in the WeChat, Chinese Facebook.
Yeah.
And very impressed about Hangzhou government, and it looked like they can give 1 million yuan to the people, create a company in Hangzhou. Is that true?
Yeah.
How that work,
Yes. Well, they were just. Actually, it's not 1 million yuan. I heard like the highest number is probably $1 million.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
$1 million, but not in the term of dollars, but just that amount of money in RMB. But it's not like that you just walk over there to the official and say, hey, come and give me money. The government are very enthusiastic about bringing the overseas returnees to the city of Hangzhou because it is still believed that these guys hold the power of the highest technology, the full understanding about what the market economy is like. So Hangzhou government is very enthusiastic in helping and bringing more of the overseas returnees, especially people with doctorate degree from really good university. They want to have that kind of people. So if they come back and they set up their own company, there are all sorts of criteria that you have to meet. But if you meet all those criteria, they will give you money. And also, they will give you, not free, but they will give you a very low interest loan if you want to buy a house, which is very expensive in Hangzhou. They can give you a very low interest, nearly no interest loan to help you and your employees to buy housing. So I think that is very considerate. And that gentleman in the back.
Yeah, so I did invite Dave McClure to be here, but they had a demo yet, so I apologize. And then Louise had messaged me. She was going to try and make it, but she's obviously not here. But what I was going to ask specifically is you talked about the customer service issue.
Yep.
So I was wondering from an HR standpoint, how did you handle that? I mean, I'm sure that you had employees that just kind of didn't get with your culture of being nice to customers.
Oh, trust me, they wouldn't last long if they didn't get it.
I mean, you tossed them right away, correct?
Well, I think, a lot of my friends in the startup world, a lot of entrepreneurs themselves say, hey, I really like your company culture, and can we learn from you and build something as cool or 50% as cool as that? But what I think is that the company culture is actually the founder, him or herself, or at least the core team. Because every day your employee come to the office and they will look at you and they will look at how you work and how you interact with people. I mean, apart from the incentive structures and all the do's and don'ts that you will have for your employee.
Different with how employees treat customers, because like most of my experience, even though I work with a Chinese company, has actually been through eBay and Alibaba, which has been horrendous. It's some of the worst customer service I've ever worked with.
Well, I sincerely feel sorry for you.
I mean, probably out of over 100 contacts, there's never been a positive one.
Well, I would say, luckily for us, it's relatively small number because we are not a B2C or a C2C company like Alibaba or like Amazon or that. We have, if you see, we have like 500,000 customers, which are the developer of the apps, right? But the bigger ones are the ones that we really frequently, interact with. Because most of the smaller ones, they just get on our website and they register as a user. If they have problem, they call us or they send us emails or they WeChat.
With all these accelerators that are out there, there's going to be more and more all the time. I think specifically, if you can focus on that one area of customer service and sales, that's something that's actually really a weakness even here in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, that is so true.
Of the major accelerators, who I will not.
It is true.
But I've seen this, right? So it can be something that allows you to stand out, right? A lot more than a lot of the rest of the accelerators out there.
Yeah, well, I would say the number one job or the most important thing that a CEO should do is sell. A CEO should be the top salesman. When he meets up with his potential business partner, he's selling his product. And when he meets with investor, he's selling his dreams, right? And when he's working with his team, he's also selling the big future that we should all go there and people should work hard. Yeah, I totally agree with the part that startups founders or the core team should learn more about sales and marketing, because most of them are young people, like Cecil, that they just come fresh out of the oven and they don't know much about the society and the real business world, so they need lessons for that. Actually, we are organizing lessons. We're organizing talks and speeches, and we are inviting some of the more senior CEOs to come to talk, sometimes even one-on-one with our CEOs in the incubator or in our portfolio. So yeah, that is very good advice.
So actually, I think that may be how we can shut the session today. Thank you. Thanks. It's, yeah, this kind of customer service is an absolutely critical part of execution.
Yeah.
Right? And if you really want to be successful, you execute. And Jen, you all have executed in a great way. I'm really delighted you would come in and share some of your thoughts with us today. Everybody, would you join me in giving a round of applause?